All right, in this video, we're going to talk about how we never run out of fresh ad ideas. And specifically, we're going to talk about how we come up with unlimited ad angles. So I'm going to go through 4 different methods, talk about the advanced bonus method, and talk about the amplifier and some prioritization tricks and tactics. So let's get into it. Let's talk about why angle generation is so important. I think brands usually actually stop scaling because they run out of compelling ways to talk about the product. And by understanding how to generate different angles and being able to generate angles on demand, you get to eliminate this problem and you get to continue scaling. So the way I think about angles is that we have, let's say, this diamond, and the different facets are like the different ways we're looking at this diamond. The analogy is that this diamond is kind of like our product, and the different facets are the different angles that we can explain and present our product. So if we come up with many different angles, we can present our product in many different ways. So 1,000 angles equals 1,000 different ways to present the product. And this gives us 1,000 different shots at making the sale. So let's talk about an example. So the product in this case is our product, which is an extreme hold texturizing clay. And in this case, the target customers are guys with heavy flat hair. So especially these Asian guys. So if we have angle number 1, which we can say it's the extreme stronghold matte finish angle, this might not resonate with the target customer. So they might think to themselves, okay, I don't really care. And this will just go over their head. And angle number 2, which is the natural ingredient, easy washout, they might not care. And Barbara approved styling clay, they might not care. But angle number 4, which is you can get the perm look without going to the salon or getting your hair damaged or without the salon pricing. Now, this angle might resonate with them, therefore catch their attention and potentially make the sale. So on the Meta platform, though, if you look at it from almost like this macro perspective, there are actually billions of people on the Meta platforms, and angle number 1 might resonate with a small pocket of these different customers, and then angle number 2 with the different pocket, and then angle number 3 with another different pocket. So collectively, when you have many different angles, you get to capture a bigger and bigger share of the total addressable market on the Meta platforms. So that is why we want to be able to come up with a lot of angles. So let's get into it. Method number 1. So this one is what I like to get started with because it's the easiest and it is very reliable. So this one is talking about angles based on the actual product itself. So how do we use this? You want to use the so what method. And I'm going to give a quick shout out to Phil from Toronto who showed me this method. So essentially what you want to do is list out the features and then ask so what on behalf of the target customer. And you can do this several times. You can ask the so what question several times. And each node will turn into a unique angle. Let's take a look at the example. So this first one is the extreme hold texturizing clay for the Asian customer, right? So let's take a look at the first feature, which is create texture in the hair. So we're going to ask the question, so what? So there's no need for a perm. And we'll ask that question again. So what? So there's no need to damage the hair and you can save money and time from visiting the salons, right? And in addition to that, if we ask so what to the first question, create texture in the hair, you can get a hairstyle that looks stylish and interesting. So what? So you can get the compliments from your date and also you can feel confident at social events. So essentially by asking so what, for this feature, we get to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different potential angles that we get to use. So blasting through this, the next one here is extreme hold as one of the features. So what? We can keep the hair up all day and we can go out after work without having to prepare our hair one more time, right? So you can also feel confident throughout the day. So these are all different angles for this one feature. All right, in addition to that, these are all the additional features that we can go into. And if we go through this process, we can come up with 30, 40, 50 different angles. right from just looking at the features and asking, so what? So this is a quick diagram. As you can see, the feature texture in the hair turns into no need for perm, and the angle from that is get the perm look without the actual perm. Hair looks stylish, get the stylish texture look. And then from there, we get the subnodes, right? So no hair damage. And then from the subnode, we get this angle, get the perm look without the damage. So as you can see, each node turns into a unique angle, and we can just branch out and we can come up with many angles from this one method. So here's a pro tip. If you're not a target member of your target customer base, meaning that you don't have a lot of deep insights regarding your customer, what you could do is just pay a target customer or go on to Upwork, for example, and hire a member of your target customer group. And you can have a call with them and just explain each one of these features, each one of your product features to them, and ask them the importance, or maybe they don't find it as important, but you want to ask them for the importance of these individual features. And by getting them to explain the importance of each one of these features, you get to go through this exercise and identify all the different angles. All right, so let's go on to method number 2. So this one is the POV-based angles. Essentially what it is you want to deliver the message from the perspective of, number one, a domain-specific authority or a credible figure. And I'm going to give you an example later. The second one here is people whose opinions the target customers care a lot about. So the way that we do this is we want to first brainstorm for the key figures from the customer's perspective. And then we want to contextualize the message and deliver the message from the perspective of these key figures. So in this case, for the texture clay example, here are some key figures. So first of all, we have the Asian barbers, because Asian barbers are skilled at, of course, cutting Asian hair type. And the second one is Asian creators. So these are possibly style creators that are in the Asian community. And lastly, these could be women, and we can get the perspective of women, which is obviously important for the target customers. So if we want to take on the perspective of the Asian barbers, let's take a look at 2 examples of ads that we've developed. So this one, I presented this one in a different video, but let's take a look.
Today I'm ranking every hair product for thick, straight Asian hair. And some of you are not gonna like this. Let's start with C tier. I'm gonna put pomade. Yeah, I like it, but pomade's overrated. It works for like 2 hours, but then it slides out because our hair is too smooth. So unless you wanna
So that's a barber talking about the different types of products, right? And this second one is also from a barber.
So one of my Asian clients came to me skeptical about the styling kit he saw. He said, this kit claims to make Asian hair stand up all day. Is that right, or are they just capping? I get that question a lot, and as an Asian barber, I'm so used to seeing product lines.
So this one is also from a barber, but from a slightly different angle. Sub-angle, I should say. All right, let's move on to number 3. So this one is probably the most reliable one for the long term. Essentially, it's borrowing angles from adjacent verticals. And what you want to do is study the adjacent topics to find out these proven styles and or angles of content or advertising. And then once you've identified these angles or styles, then you can contextualize for your own topic. So for our category, right, we are in the hair product cosmetics category. So the adjacent topic is beauty and consulting. So this is a piece of organic content from Coase. So let me play this.
The eye area can make or break a face. Here are 2 simple steps with the highest return to naturally improve it. Step 1 is...
All right, so that's kind of like the angle. It's a small change can really make a big difference. So the angle itself, you can say it's your eye can make or break the face, which is kind of like the headline. And what we could do is borrow that angle, and we can say something to the effect of your hairstyle can make or break your first impression, right? So this is a very similar angle borrowed from the adjacent topic. So next one is men's apparel. Let's take a look.
Notice how every celebrity, and I mean every single one, is always wearing a tee that's tight on the arms and the delts, then it's loose on the body, and they never have logos.
All right, so that's the hook. And essentially the angle is celebrities always wear this type of tee. And for us, if we want to contextualize, we can say Asian celebrities are always wearing this hairstyle in 2026. Last one, this is skincare. Let's take a look.
Remember, enlarged pores and wrinkles, retinol. Dullness and dark spots, vitamin C. Sebum control, squalane. Dehydrated skin, hyaluronic acid.
All right, so that one's quite short, but it's basically doing this problem and solution succession rapid fire type of organic format. So from that, the angle in this case is different products for different skin challenges, and we can say different products for different Asian hair challenges, and that would be quite easy for us to produce. All right, so in general, by looking at the adjacent verticals, we get to come up with these angles, and we get to just come up with unlimited ideas, so to speak. Let's move on to method number 4. So this one is the customer worldview angle. Essentially, you want to look at what is top of mind for the customers, and we want to relate our product to those topics. So this one might be a little bit more challenging, but let's get into it. So you want to first identify, you want to step into the target customer's shoes and look at the world from their perspective. And you do this by watching their thought leaders and reading their thought leaders, reading the community forums that they are a part of. And this one I'll talk about later, but lastly, you can also ask the large language models to give you some ideas. What you're specifically looking for is their dilemmas that they are experiencing, either in their lives or more specifically related to the domain. And I'll explain, I'll show you some examples later. The next one is private beliefs that they are actually sharing online. So private beliefs that they are keeping private in real life, but they're actually sharing online. Okay, so I'll give you some examples. The first one here is we're in Reddit and we're looking at this thread. So this thread, the topic is nobody knows how to cut Asian hair in my town. So this is something that is highly resonating, and it is also a private belief. And it's that Asian guys think that most people don't know how to cut Asian hair, right? So this is a private belief that we can then use as an angle. So the topic is non-Asian barbers don't know how to cut Asian hair. Therefore, you want to go to an Asian barber. And just like how you wouldn't use products that are not made for your hair type, you want to use products that are actually right for your hair type. So that's how I would kind of draw the connection between this private belief and the product, and that turns into an angle. So the next thing is looks maxing isn't for Asian guys. So this one is a really popular thread, almost 800 upvotes, and it's essentially saying that the looks maxing trend is not right for Asian guys because the ideology focuses on different features that are not native to the Asian guys, right? So essentially I can create an angle based on this is looks maxing isn't right for Asian guys, and instead of looks maxing, guys should be K-pop maxing. And the K-pop stars all have their hair done properly, and therefore you should focus on your hairstyle first. And that allows me to open this opportunity to talk about the product. Lastly, so this one is products in the West aren't made for Asian guys. So this is pretty self-explanatory, and it's also a private belief. Okay. So essentially, you want to look for dilemmas where the customers are struggling and they're not able to pick between two suboptimal choices, or you want to look for private beliefs that are one or two steps away from your product topic itself. So you can draw the connection and use that as an angle. All right, so let's talk about the bonus one. So this one is more advanced. I call this the cultural hitch angle. Essentially, you want to draw the connection between impacts of cultural changes to the compelling desire for the product. So the way to use this, firstly, you want to identify the cultural changes that your customers are already familiar with. They're already aware of these changes. And you want to make the case because of these changes, the product that you have is now something that they should care about. So the framework that I like to use to identify these cultural changes is the PESTEL-G. So this is not a new framework, but it's super helpful. So it stands for politics, economic, social, technology, environment, legal, and generational. So these are categories of changes that are never ending. So political changes, things always happen. Economic changes, social changes, technological changes, all these changes are always happening. And essentially, the way to use this is to look at the changes that are salient and the ones that are that the customers are familiar with, and then draw the connection between those, the impact of these changes to why the product that you have now is compelling and it should be taken seriously. So I'll give you an example. A social change in this case is K-pop is becoming mainstream, and this is why it's the best time to style your hair like a K-idol, right? So because of this change, this is now important. All right. So the economic change. So times are tough financially, and instead of going to the salon for a perm, you can actually just do it yourself for a lot cheaper. All right. So these are two very basic examples of looking at the cultural shifts and then hitching onto these cultural shifts to make the case why your product is now compelling. All right, let's go to the amplifiers real quick. So once you've actually identified a handful of different angles, you can start doing remixes. So you can combine the angles together to create hybrids. So for example, Asian barbers talking about K-pop celebrity hairstyles and talking about the tutorials. So it's not just Asian barbers talking about hair products, but rather Asian barbers talking about the K-pop celebrity styles and giving tutorials. All right, so similar to that, Asian barbers can talk about why you should not get a perm, and Asian barbers can talk about why creating texture to flat hair is something desirable. And you can also remix these different hybrid angles with styles of content. So this is a little graphic here. So as you can see, this is the product-based angles, the key perspective-based angles, not from here angles, customer worldview angles. So all these categories of angles could be interpreted through different style formats, and that gives you many different options to create unlimited variations for these ads, right? All right, lastly, as you go through this process, you'll have a lot of stuff to work with, but prioritization, this is how we think about it. We really try to milk the existing winning angles first and get the most out of it before we go on and we try to get a lot more creative. So the K-pop angle is something that is working quite well for us. Whenever we create an ad that talks about the K-pop topic or related to the K-idol K-pop topic, it typically does pretty well. So let's take a look. So this is the first one.
Can you believe that this iconic K-pop model was made fun of because of his hair?
Yeah, so that's one hook. And then this is the second one.
Ready to train your hair to behave like a K icon? It'll start obeying your command.
So it's quite unorthodox, and it's almost this ASMR type of ad style. And then last one, this one.
Can you believe that this iconic K-pop model was made fun of because of his hair? So Jungkook from BTS actually got dragged for this before.
Yeah, so it's essentially the same hook, but presented a little bit differently. So the point is, you want to work off of something that is already working instead of simply doing a one-shot and abandoning the hook even though it's working, or abandoning the angle after it's working. So no one-hit wonder, so to speak. In terms of prioritization after that, this is the general guideline. So sniff test is how inherently persuasive is the angle, And that is something that will allow you to very quickly identify the ones to test next. And beyond that, you can run the ROAS analysis. So reach is how big is the total addressable market of the message itself. If it's very niche, I should say, and it only appeals to a very small amount of people, then the TAM is not so big. You might want to put that on the back burner or prioritize it later on. And then in terms of impact, is how compelling is the message itself? Is it highly resonating? Is it something that has impact, or is it kind of like a meh topic? And the next thing is confidence level of these things, of these topics. If you're highly confident, then you can go ahead with it. If not, then you might want to put it on the back burner. And lastly is how easy is it for you to execute on it? All right, so this is a pretty simple way for you to prioritize. All right, and that is basically it. So if you go through these different methods, use these different methods, you should be able to come up with unlimited angles